Large lecture. Hopefully now we're starting to get the swing of things. Make sure you check in with your colloquium leader so that you get the attendance points for tonight. If you're not with your section, make sure you find that leader before you get out of here. Otherwise, there's a chance you will be marked absent. Okay? Tonight's topic is around the broad themes of international. To take you through this, I want to introduce you to Dr. Whitney Bendeck, who is the Director of Undergraduate Studies for the International Affairs major. How many are you International Affairs in here? Raise them higher. Let's see them. I'm here. Okay, there's a few of you here. If you do honors in the major, she's the one you're going to want to talk to. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But she will help you with stuff along those lines. Okay? So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Bendeck, and then I'll say a few final things when she is.
Y'all can hear me. Can everybody hear me in the back? Okay, I'm not going to try to yell. I'll use the mic. All right, so as he introduced me, I'm from International Affairs. I am not here to recruit you to International Affairs, so you'll be happy about that. Of course, you are more than welcome if you wanted to join the International Affairs major, but what we are going to be talking about is becoming globally engaged. So I'll ask you a question, and if you want to try to give me an answer, I know we're a big room, but shout it out. Why is it important to become globally engaged? Why does it matter? Anybody want to try? Okay.
So we're not ignorant human beings.
So we are not ignorant human beings. I absolutely love that. Do you realize that a lot of countries know way more about us than we know about them? And we come off as really ignorant when that happens. I love that answer. Becoming globally engaged helps us to become connected, helps us to become more knowledgeable, and really does shed a better light on us as Americans. Anybody else have an answer? Okay, say it again. We have a global economy. Yes, we do. In the last decades, our economy has become even more and more interconnected with economies and countries across the globe. What happens in countries as far and wide as Thailand or China or Japan impact our economy directly. It's happening right now with China's economy faltering. That has been impacting our economy. If you check the stock market, you can watch it happening. So we are not functioning in isolation. We don't live in a bubble here. What happens here is connected to what happens in other places around the globe. And it's important for us to be knowledgeable about that and aware of that. Now let me ask you a question. Show of hands. How many of you in here were born in another country? A fair elements to those as well. So today we'll be talking about becoming globally engaged. We talk a lot in international affairs about a word called globalization. Globalization is a common term, and I provided you with a definition. Hopefully this is big enough to read. But a standard definition of globalization would be the increasing integration of the world in terms of communications, culture, economics, and tourism. So if we just take that definition alone, we can see how we have become interconnected through globalization. Communications, while I was sitting here watching y'all come in, just about half of you were on your phone. On your phone, you have easy access through the internet to learn about other cultures. You can make contact with people. Communications aren't like they were in the past. It is so easy and so accessible to us. When we talk about culture, how do we here in the United States most commonly transmit our culture? Movies and music. American movies and American music are everywhere. And in fact, a lot of people across the globe learn a lot about us through American film, because American film has been exported across the globe. So that is a great way that our culture has been transmitted. It's a way we can learn about other cultures as well. Of course, economics, we have an interconnected economy, and tourism. Since most of you raised your hand, you've traveled, you know how easy it is to travel in this world. The other thing, though, that shapes globalization are our own experiences and perception. We don't often think about this, but here's a map of the world. This is the CIA map from January 2015. You look at the United States. All right, now travel all the way over and look at China or look at Japan. 100 years ago, if you were to read any diaries from that time period or memoirs from that time period, those countries were described as being exotic. These faraway lands in the distant Far East. They were seen as almost foreign to us, like they were elusive to our understanding. Do you have that perception about China or Japan today? No. Because the way things have changed, the way we have become interconnected, and because of communications, because of the internet and social media and movies and music and all of this stuff, it's so easy now for us to know about China or Japan, to know their culture. These things don't seem exotic to us anymore. In fact, many of you have maybe even traveled to these countries if you're not from one of these countries. So it doesn't seem so inaccessible to us anymore. We often comment that our world has gotten smaller. It hasn't physically gotten smaller. Our perception of the world has gotten smaller. And our perception has changed simply because the world has become so much more accessible to us today. Alright, so you want to get involved. You want to become more globally engaged. It's easy, especially on this campus. Because on this campus, you have a lot of opportunities available to you. One of them, and the one that most students know the most about, is study right reasons and choose your program wisely. As I mentioned, they have over 50 programs, but pick the right one. Don't just pick a program because you're going to go and have a lot of fun. What is that going to get you down the road? Okay, so you traveled somewhere. Good for you. You should get something out of it. You guys are honor students. You should be thinking in that direction. So choose your program wisely so that you choose a program that will help you advance. And take it seriously. You're studying abroad, not drinking abroad. Alright? Sometimes study abroad programs have gotten the bad label of drinking abroad programs because so many students go on these and then consider it or treat it like it's a 5-week party. Well, that's not what study abroad should be for you. You should choose a program that's going to help you academically, and you should take it seriously. Have fun while you're there, but take your program seriously so that you do learn, so that you do get something worthwhile out of it. And then a very important follow-up to this is learn how to articulate your experience. This is huge because one of the things you're going to want to do is put this on your resume or your CV to show that you've been on a study abroad program. But you know what feedback from employers has told us? They no longer value that experience so much because students can't articulate what it did for them. So think about that. You're sitting in a job interview. Your future potential employer asks you a question about your program. And you say, wow, it was like awesome. We like saw all these things and went to all these countries and it was like so much fun. How is that going to help you get a job? I mean, think about it. You need to think about what the program was, what you got out of it. Carefully think this through. So for example, I lead a study abroad program in Prague. We're human rights focused. So I would hope that a student coming back from that program would be able to say, you know, this was a transformational experience for me. I met with NGOs and learned the difference between theory and practice when it comes to human rights. I learned the challenges that NGOs, non-governmental organizations, face in trying to prosecute offenders of human rights violations. I was able to go to locations and feel what it was like and how my life impacted by that experience. Something like that is going to mean so much more for you in a job interview than not being able to say what you got out of it. So learn how to articulate your experience. And along with that, simply just maximize what you get out of it. So when you come back, you don't just leave it all behind. You take those lessons with you, you bring them forward. Now, fortunately, at FSU, we have ways to help you do that. Here are 2 different organizations on campus, and I've put the email or the web address if anybody's interested in going to them. Global Pathways. Global Pathways is a certificate program. One of the components is traveling abroad, but you do a number of academic activities. You have so many that you have to hit, that you have to do to fulfill the requirement, but at the end you receive your Global Pathways certificate. This goes on your resume or your CV, and it looks very good. Or being part of the Garnet and Gold Society, same thing. Study abroad can factor into this. And then you have that. You're recognized at graduation for having fulfilled the requirements of the Garnet and Gold Society. And this is something else that shows you weren't just going on a trip. You were doing something with it. You were doing something to enhance your own life and your own future. And oftentimes with these programs too, there are activities that you do following up on that program that help you to maximize its effect. Okay, so you don't want to do study abroad. There are other ways to go abroad or have that international experience. Internships is a huge one, depending on your major or the job that you're looking for, but some might look to work for an international organization, a non-governmental organization, a service organization that can just be very broad and appeal to many different majors, multiple collaboration. There are many different avenues to gain experience, and these internships can be here in the United States as well, or abroad. There's international work study. We have foreign exchange programs. You might consider graduate school abroad. There are faith-based mission programs and even personal travel. But any of these ways would allow you to go abroad and experience another culture and gain that experience. Okay. An organization we have here on campus is Global Peace Exchange. Global Peace Exchange is a registered student organization. It is student-driven. So I just put what they have on their website here, but they are a student-led initiative founded here at FSU. This is a chance for students on the undergrad and graduate level to fundraise, budget, plan, execute, and evaluate sustainable community development projects, as well as engage in humanitarian work and cultural exchange. They go to Ghana, Nepal, Rwanda, and Cambodia. So here, this is another opportunity in a different way. It is service. Again, it is student-driven. They come up with the plan, the agenda, they raise the money, they go, they do it completely themselves. And the experience they gain through this is absolutely phenomenal. Life-changing for them. I haven't met one of them who's come back who's like, well, it was okay. It is always a life-changing and transformational experience. It's a service project. We have the Global Scholars Program. The Global Scholars Program helps students secure summer internships at nonprofit organizations in developing countries around the world. It's developed by the Center for Undergraduate Research and Academic Enhancement. Global scholar placements are low cost and high impact, providing a challenging academic and personal student development experience. Students in the program receive training before they go, and I underlined the capstone research project. Again, for the reason that when you come back, there's something else you have to do, that research project, which helps you to maximize the effect of that experience on you, to make it lasting and to help you better be able to articulate that experience in the future. So this is Global Scholars Program hopes to cultivate active citizens of the world who can utilize research and critical thinking skills to engage with different cultural perspectives and make a positive impact. You can see where they go to various countries in the developing world. Beyond Borders is another. Beyond Borders is an exchange program that we have. This one goes to two different places. You can see here, the University of West Indies in Kingston, Jamaica, and Dresden, Germany at different times. So this one offers a different opportunity through the exchange program. Here's another option some of you may not have thought about. You can teach English abroad. So you want to go abroad, but you don't necessarily want to go study abroad. You don't want to be involved in an academic program where you're the student. This is another option that really lets you get involved, experience a culture, work with other people, most of the time children, but not exclusively, but work with other people on a level where you really, really get to know them. In this, you are also serving as an ambassador for the United States, unofficially, of course, but you are going and representing us. So always be aware of that when you travel abroad in any capacity, that you are, unofficially so, an ambassador. People are looking at you and they are judging America by your behavior. But teaching English abroad gives you that opportunity to go there and serve in that capacity. You can receive your Teaching English as a Foreign Language certificate right here at FSU through the Intensive English Studies, Center for Intensive English Studies. which helps international students get acclimated. So when they come here to Tallahassee, think about it. They don't know anybody. That's scary. It's scary to go to another country, to move to another country, especially if that country speaks a foreign language. So you come here, English is your second language, you're not sure if you speak it perfectly, you don't know anybody, it's a scary experience. It can be overwhelming. Friends of Internationals is one of those where they help. They go and meet the international students, they help them get settled, they even serve as conversation partners for them. In that way, you really get to know somebody and build a lasting relationship. Another way to serve as a conversation partner, and this is something a lot of our international affairs students do, but you can serve as a conversation partner with an international student through the Center for Intensive English Studies. So for students coming here, learning English on a crash course, they need somebody to talk to. All right, so I asked, well, why is this so important? Well, it's part of what I said. When people come here, it can be overwhelming, especially when they're coming here alone. A lot of times they know the United States from their own history books and from movies. So they have preconceived notions about who we are and what we do. I had one of my Chinese students tell me a couple semesters back that she was really surprised when she got to FSU because she thought all of the females dressed like really nice. I mean, not professor students, that y'all were all going to be walking around in dresses and high-heeled shoes and, you know, hair fixed and all this. She said she was shocked when she got here and all of you were walking around in yoga pants and flip-flops with your hair in ponytails. But she got that perception from somewhere. She told me she got it from TV shows. So, but you see what I mean? People come here with expectations of what we're like, and that's not always true. When we serve as a conversation partner, not only do we have the opportunity to get to know somebody and get to know their culture through them, but it also allows them to better understand us. For both of us, it gives us a window to understand each other. Keep that in mind now. It's a window. Because I've had students say before in classes like, oh, you know, in India they do this, because that's what their Indian friend told them. Well, India is probably the most diverse, if not one of the most diverse countries in the world. So just because that friend said that does not mean that's true of every Indian. It doesn't mean that's true everywhere. Just as, I mean, do your political views represent the political views of everybody in this room? Yeah, the answer is no. Do your political views represent the political views of everybody in this country? No. Do your upbringing, does it represent every American's upbringing? No. So, we are very diverse as well. So just because I think it doesn't mean every American thinks it. Just because that's what happened with me doesn't mean that's what happens with every American. So in our interactions with each other, we give each other a window. A window in order to understand each other. It's a glimpse that we can then continue to build on. I asked what challenges international students face, and I hit on a lot of these already. Maybe not being confident in their ability to speak English, not knowing anybody. But did you know that the vast majority of international students who come here just for school never step foot in an American home? They live in a dorm. They see that. They are never invited into an American home. They don't know how we live. They go home after being here for 4 years still judging how we live from TV because they haven't been in our homes to see what it's like. So this is something else to keep in mind. If you make an international friend, invite them over. Invite them over so you can get to know them, they can get to know you, and they can better understand where it's not just you helping them, but it can be life-changing for you as well. I know a couple summers ago, we went to Germany. And the only thing my husband has ever really learned about Germany has to do with World War II and Hitler. And actually, we were on a Holocaust, a human rights program, and we were there studying the Holocaust. So a lot of that's been reinforced with him. So we went to Germany, and he kind of had this negative opinion going into it, because that's all he knew. Well, the experience, he walked away and said it had completely changed him. Completely changed his view of Germans, because they were so nice to us, so nice to him, so helpful. But he wouldn't have known that if he hadn't gone, if he hadn't experienced it, if he hadn't actually talked to some German people to find out that, well, we've moved on from that time. So we get a lot out of these experiences as well, and it can change the way we see other people. Something else you can do, learn a foreign language. Statistics say that 25% of Americans can hold a conversation in another language, but only 1% of Americans who learn a foreign language in the classroom can speak it proficiently. That 25% is reflective of the fact that we have a lot of people in this country who are either first generation, second generation, another language has been handed down. But if you're one of those American students like me, who learned it in the classroom, we're not that good at it. But in other countries, they start learning English when they are very young, or another relevant language depending on where they are, but most of the time, it's going to be English. That's why when you travel abroad, if you meet somebody your age, the likelihood that they can speak English is pretty high. That's because they have to learn it. It's not mandatory in this country that we learn other languages, but it comes back to the question of why should we be more globally engaged so we don't seem ignorant? Well, not being able to speak anybody else's language sometimes makes us look kind of ignorant. So learning a foreign language is another way to enhance yourself, but at the same time, you will be learning about the culture. You will be learning about traditions. You will be becoming more aware. If you are looking at learning a foreign language, one thing you can do if you're interested in study abroad as well is look for study abroad programs where maybe you can do both. Go abroad and learn a language. We do have multiple programs that are language-based programs here, so that's a good way to learn it. We have intensive language programs here across the United States. They're lots of fun. You go. You basically get locked in. You're not allowed to speak English. I mean, if you want to say intensive, they're more intensive than your study abroad program learning French in Paris. I can tell you that. They are very intensive, and you probably will walk out fluent. But we have those here in the United States. You don't even need to go elsewhere to learn a foreign language. The benefits? It opens doors for cultural engagement and communication. It opens doors for jobs, and it makes you more marketable. When you can put bilingual or fluent in different languages, your marketability just went up. It can increase your pay grade depending on the job that you're applying for, and of course, it makes you a better global citizen at the same time. Here's my advice on this one. Choose the right language. For example, you are interested in learning Dutch because your dad's family's from the Netherlands. But you're getting your degree in international business and finance. Maybe Mandarin's a better option. I speak with a lot of students who are thinking about that. They want to learn a foreign language. They're thinking about learning a foreign language, but they can't pick out which one. And a lot of times they are influenced by the fact that they have family from this country or so forth. Not to say that's a bad idea, but considering that you are here to advance yourself professionally, I would strongly suggest looking at what you want to do with your future professionally and choose a whether you want to learn Mandarin or not, but I would say choose a language that's going to open doors for you in your future career, that you will be able to use, that will make you more employable. You want to make the right decision in learning a language. So, all of this sounds great. But how in the world do you pay for any of this? How do you pay to go abroad? How do you pay for these programs? That's one of the biggest obstacles to students actually getting out there and doing more. Whether it's traveling abroad or even participating in programs here in the United States. Many of you are on student loans. You see the numbers mounting and it can become overwhelming. But, you know, there's the popular Wisconsin to do intensive Arabic. Do we have any scholarships that can help me? They'll tell you. FSU office, financial aid office, of course they have loans. They also can point you to scholarships as well. International programs, if you are looking at study abroad, they give away over $130,000 in scholarships for study abroad. So definitely look at what they have. They have scholarships based on need. They have scholarships based on academic performance, but they have a lot. And then Rod Mapp is like the wizard of figuring out how to pay for your study abroad program. I put his information up there. And then here's a list of other ones. Modern Languages offers the Annabelle Winthrop King Scholarship. We've got the Best Board Honors Scholarship. Did you mention that one yet?
I'm going to bring it up at the end.
He's going to bring it up at the end, but I'm giving it for him right now. There's the Best Board Honors Travel Scholarship, Benjamin Gilman Scholarship. Give you a time to look at it. The Rotary Ambassadorial Scholarship. Here's where you're serving as a goodwill ambassador to a host country. GoFundMe. Some students get creative and they go to GoFundMe. I was talking to a student today who did that, has raised money on GoFundMe.com. And then the last one I think is a really good one, to convince your parents, grandparents, or whoever that your future is a sound investment. A lot of students are very good at conning mom and dad to pay for their travel abroad. But hey, they're a resource for you. If you go abroad, as I said, take it seriously so that you get something out of it. But I'm going to come back to a plan A, which is remember that you represent the United States at the same time. And I mean this very seriously. All good things for you. When you travel abroad and or become globally engaged, because it doesn't mean you have to go abroad. You don't just learn about other people, places, and cultures. You learn a lot about yourself in your own country. Do you know that's one of the biggest lessons I learned on my very first trip abroad? I learned more about me, and I learned more about the United States than I did about England and France, which is where I went. It was my first time to leave. I didn't even know if I could do it. I was scared half to death. I was like, I think I was 18. I was scared half to death. I'd never been on my own, and I didn't need other people leading me, that I could figure it out on my own. I started learning things about me, but I also learned a lot about the United States, because here, we often really do kind of live in our own creative bubble. Our news, if you turn it on, our news is about here. It's about the United States. Any of you, when you're abroad, have you watched? But the news abroad tends to be about the bigger world. Quite frankly, it doesn't. We're one state in a world of states. We're a very powerful and influential state, but we're not the only one. Some people like us, some people don't. Traveling abroad exposes you to that. And it allows you to reflect back on that was kind of enlightening, to be perfectly honest. Now, this was in the 1990s, so the world, you know, it was a different world.
All right, some few final things. Let's see how many of you know about your honors program. What are the requirements to receive the Best Ward Travel Scholarships, as it got brought up? Anyone know? Well, you don't. No, I want first-year students to tell me this answer.
9 hours, credit hours, honors, 9 honors hours, credit.
Exactly. Everyone in this group is eligible for the Best Ward Travel Scholarship as long as you complete 9 hours of honors credit hours before you go abroad. That's it. You submit an application, everyone gets some money the semester they go abroad as long as you meet that requirement. Now, I'm not going to pay for your entire trip. Let me put that disclaimer out there. But some of the things that Dr. Benedict talked about, they're not going to cost you $10,000, $12,000, $15,000. Now, if you wanted to do the traditional study abroad, yeah, that's going to be more expensive. But some of the others, the Global Peace Exchange, Global Scholar, stuff along those lines, those are easy ways to go abroad, and we do help fund that stuff. It doesn't have to be for coursework. So I've got about 300. Yes. Can you only receive this once? Yes, this is a one-time offering. So I do encourage you to go abroad many times, as much as you can, able to make it work. But yeah, the scholarship itself is only given once. The idea is to give it to as many honor students as possible. Okay, next question. How many of you know who your honors advisor is? How many of you have met with your honors advisor at least once in the fall and once this spring? Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. And the reason I asked this is because this happened to me a few weeks ago. International Programs was brought up. They require letters of recommendation in order to potentially be eligible to receive any scholarships from their program. I have written them for my advisees who have met me multiple times. If you are thinking about that route, you should get to know the professors that are teaching your classes. You should get to know your honors advisors. So you've got a wide range of different letters that can potentially be written for you to help you receive this scholarship. That's my subtle hint that if you're one of mine and I haven't seen you yet this semester, make an appointment. If you're one of Peggy's or Megan's, make an appointment to see them so that you can continue to build that relationship. So if you decide to do this and you want to apply for funding to help with the cost, you've got at least one person that you know you can go to. Now, if you're not talking to your professors as well too, then you're doing yourself a disservice. But we'll come back to that at the very end of the semester here. So I just want to throw those couple of things out there for you to think about. There are absolutely ways to do this. And there are ways to do this on the cheap as well too. Okay? Juan, I don't think you're in my section, but there's a colloquium leader, Juan Cordoza. He teaches a section over in 102. Ask him, if you get the chance to meet Juan, ask him about his backpacking trip through Europe last summer and how little he spent on that. Okay? There are ways of doing this and making it count. The idea is we want you to think more than just right here, state of Florida, the United States. Everyone in here, whether you're a biology major to an international affairs, to business to social work, we are all connected together in one way or another. All right? Last announcement, don't forget, next week is a small colloquium breakout week, so you'll be meeting in HSF Monday, Wednesday, or Thursday. Make sure you check in with your leaders if you got in here late. Otherwise, enjoy it. You got out early tonight.